too much fertilizer usage in the area. And it's causing a process, which is actually a natural process of eutrophication of the lake, which is just being enhanced because the nutrient level is just too high there. And when the nutrient level is too high, then you have proliferation of plant life, particularly algae, which reduces the oxygen content. When the oxygen levels are reduced hard enough, then it becomes anaerobic, and the plants that are actually in the lake start dying, and all that organic material from the plants and the algae that start accumulating on the bottom of the lake, just exacerbating the whole situation. So there's more silt building up in the bottom of the lake, and it's not degrading naturally, so it's anaerobic, and it can't be degraded by a natural aerobic process, which is much quicker than an anaerobic process. And that's why towards the end of the summer you see all the lily pads there that are dying because they're actually just a lot of them are just suffocating. The water's too warm and it's not aerated. And it is especially a problem with slow-moving streams and lakes, which obviously Woman Lake fits into that category. And the other problem also is the other source of nutrients obviously can be from pet waste and obviously all the geese that are in the area. You might like, some people might like the geese, but geese poop, and they poop a lot, and there's a lot of nutrients in there, a lot of nitrates, and that really has an effect, a detrimental effect on the water quality then, and then that's another issue that's a little bit more difficult to deal with to try to discourage the geese around lakes, but they really aren't. They're just the population is way too high to support in that area. So what are some of the things that we can do? I mean, I have a number of recommendations that we came up with. First of all, you may or may not be aware, a bill was passed in August 2011 at the state level that's going to reduce the amount of allowable nitrogen and phosphorus in the fertilizer. And specifically, one of the items in this bill is that within the water bodies, it's actually going to require the use of fertilizer that contains no nitrogen or phosphorus within a 25-foot buffer zone if it's and within 10 feet if it's being applied with a spreader or by a commercial facility that applies fertilizer. If they're doing it with a spreader, they can use a 10-foot in the waterway. If you're just doing it, you're really not supposed to be applying fertilizer within 25 feet of the waterway. And one of the things you might want to consider is to actually draft an ordinance based on this law so that you have a way to perhaps enforce this regulation and so people and to educate people so people know that this law is coming, is in play now, and by January 2012 all fertilizer that's being sold commercially is going to be marked with this information on it. So there will be starting in January, the fertilizer you pick up at Home Depot is going to have, it's supposed to be have this information on it. One of the things that we can do as a committee is have a program where we actually have a film that we can show called Gimme Green, and Alicia has some contacts that we can bring in a speaker to talk about the fertilizer program and what it means and how it affects your waterway. So we do an educational outreach to try to especially, target people living around Woman Lake and even around the creek to try to bring them in to attend this educational program to make them aware of what's going on. So that's one thing that is, certainly something we should go ahead and go forward with. The other thing would be to set up a volunteer monitoring program to monitor the lake. And Johannes, president on our committee, has materials that you can be able to set up such a program to get volunteers in the area to actually do and go out and assess the lake periodically, and we could probably get supplies to actually monitor the lake as far as the level of nutrients and the volunteer program. There's training that goes on at the state level that you can get volunteer people involved to do a volunteer monitoring program of the lake quality. One thing that hasn't been done in any lake that is utilized is that there hasn't been like a maintenance program that's set up or been established established, to take, to look at the lake periodically and try to maintain it and see what needs to be done. And, as far as I know, there's no official program involved that we can now have either volunteers go out there or committee go out there to try to maintain the lake. And I know they want, all of you say they can't see the lake because there's all these weeds growing there. Well, you need to have some sort of buffer zone, and that's why I kind of handed out these little flyers here. And what looks like weeds, they may be weeds right now and not native and aren't doing any effective filtering of the nutrients going into the lake as it acts as a buffer zone to filter anything going into them. But it doesn't have to look like this. It's shown on these pictures. Buffer zones can be very aesthetic. So you can just putting in native plants and doing it properly, and that would require some funding, obviously. We would have to go out for grants to be able to get materials to actually do the work. I know grants coming up probably in January. We would have to pair with a not-for-profit, because it's only geared for not-for-profits. So there's a possibility that they get about a $5,000 grant, and that's going to do funded restoration activities. And that we would like to go after that. We would have to maybe pair up with someone who would, we have even representatives as long as they would, submit it, maybe Raincoat Conservancy or somebody like that. Yeah, well, yeah, we gotta go look at that. Yeah, we can look at the details and see what the grant says. But I mean, it's a little bit of funding. We could maybe take a small area and just do a pilot in one section of it, and look at what's been done at, and particularly, I know there's been a lot of work that was done at, Strawbridge Lake, as far as, restoration. Look at what was done there, because they sort of did both buffer zones and easy access areas, so that people could get down to the lake, which you would have to build up the banks of it with maybe some stones, or easy access areas for people who want to fish and don't want to, be able to get down to the water. So, and it might be a good way to reach out to even Eagles, Boy Scouts, and have to do an Eagle project. There's a lot of, they might have these capabilities to be doing some of this work also, and take this part of it on as a project to, help us out and look for some thoughts that going forward to get some of this done, because there's obviously not a lot of funding to do. This work that would need to be done is really going to try to restore it. I'm trying to see what else. And then the last thing, in the interim, is if one of the biggest problems is that there's not enough irrigating, so like it's kind of going stagnant. And there are a number of different, this would be the money cost, because I don't know how much it would cost to get an aerator, but there's various solar aeration techniques out there. There's fountains that you see, there's aerators, which basically a compressor that pumps air underneath the diffusers, and then there's another thing that we saw that was more or less, gets described as kind of a solar paddle wheel that kind of moves around the lake and just keeps the water moving and keeps it aerated. I don't know what the cost of these things are, and that's something we can look into to see how much they cost, and go forward to see if there's any grants available out there to actually purchase one of these, or even go out and ask the companies that provide these services if there's any way that they might be able to do a demonstration of their product in the lake. We have 3 lakes. There's basically, I saw 3 different aeration type techniques. If you can do a side-by-side demo, if they, for them it would be, if they want to be able to sell us something and demo it for a couple weeks or whether it might be worthwhile to at least, reach out to them and see if they'd be willing to demo something for us over the summer and see which one works best before we commit ourselves to purchasing anything to help get it. Because if we're able to get air into it, then a lot of the organic material and sediment would naturally degrade, and it would, alleviate a lot of problems without having to go towards, dredging it or any of that thing, which would be, but as more material gets, still fills up, obviously the water level gets shallower and shallower and shallower, you have more and more of an issue.
And that was the recommendation made for Pinonia,
grant that we have, that we're trying to work through with the state, what they need